Just on 2 o'clock. Welcome to the Taupō District Council monthly meeting, 30th of July. We're not live streaming, but we are recording. This will be downloaded later. Welcome to Councillors Rankin and Leonard who are online. And anyone else who is tuned in online, and those who see this later on. Welcome everybody, if I can ask Councillor Karen Fisher to open us today.
Kia ora, kia ora, tātou inurai te takinga o te karakia, huri nei ko ngā whakaaro ki rātou ko ngaru te tiro ngā kamuhi ki rātou ko Turangi sea. Noho tonu ko te whānau smogu, no te rā te whānau hāti ki te mātau mo whakaaro, kātahi anō rā rāwatai ko ki rā no ki te kōpū o te whenua, i tēnei wā tonu i takoto tirahana, te hitu papaku ki te marae o tūkau. Reira, nei rā ngā mihi ki rātou ko kina e te kupe ngā tara mai nuku. O ki mai anō ki a tātou te hunga ora, i tūwhera i tēnei kaupapa i te karaiki anō e kei nui tātou. Kaurua te tāhunu i orangi nui e tui hone e warua te nuku o papa tūnu ke tātou. Tā gina atu te kawa nui, te kawa roa, te kawa tiki, te kawa iau mai no tiki orangi, o nā rangi tū hāhai. Nā oi ora nā mātauranga pi a te kawa hunu, te paranga māku, ki whāmo, ki rea mai te toki o hau i hui e.
We have apologies from His Worship Mayor David Trewavas and Councillor Yvonne Westerman. That room, that's full house. Apart from that, a mover. Thank you. Councillor Lachlan, seconder. Councillor Shepherd, all in favour? Aye. All right, passed. Are there any conflicts of interest pertaining to the agenda items for today? Claire?
Through the chair, I just want to state for my
Stop.
Sorry.
Is it a conflict of interest specific to the agenda item?
Yes. Well,
it's
I
my
wish to state
I need to stop you, Councillor. Please, I'm not asking for a general statement. I'm asking for a specific conflict of interest declaration in relation to the agenda items today. It's a yes or no question.
Well, through the chair, I mean, some public statements have been made that I do have conflict of interest.
That is not relevant to today.
Well,
do not interrupt me, please. Do you have a conflict of interest you wish to declare specific to the agenda items today? Yes or no?
No, I don't have a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
But if anyone else wants to state a conflict of
Do
interest,
not-
on my part,
Do not speak over me, please. Finished?
yes.
Thank you. If there are no conflicts of interest, we'll move on. Item 4.1. Confirmation of minutes of the last meeting. Meeting held on the 25th of June. Are there any amendments to those minutes before I call for a mover? Councillor Leonard. You had your hand up?
Sorry, Kevin, I was just going to move that they be accepted.
Thank you. And seconder, Councillor Park, all in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Public forum, we have had one person wish to speak. They have since withdrawn, so there's no public forum. We now have a notice of motion, which is on our supplementary agenda. Councillor Campbell, that's your notice of motion. You wish to speak to that before you move the motion?
Yes, I'll sit there, it's all right.
If you wish to.
Take the item as read. Take the item as read. Just make a few points on it. Before I ask for a second, because I have no idea if I do have a second yet. I'll speak for it in advance. Welcome to clap at the end. That was a joke. This is not intended to undermine or contradict the work done thus far. This motion is intended to pause and give elected members opportunity to reflect and ask questions which we have not to date had. Putting aside my dented sensibility that being excluded from input, I do see a very real risk there could be poor decision making going on, and that we could be setting ourselves up to some grievous wasteful spending. Remembering that the purpose of the study was not just update the relevant contribution figures for the LTP. I believe that's an aside of it. You need to understand that transportation is part science and part politics, which is why cycleways and busways happened in Auckland from the 90s, well before climate change ever came on the scene. It's not like putting in pipes to move water around, and as long as the tap works, that's just fine. Although I've got to say there's some politics involved in our pipes across the rivers around here. But I say engaging a consultant to do it all for you. I liken to a homeowner plucking an architect out of the yellow pages and letting them rip without any input from those who have to live in it afterwards. Now, yes, we have 3 councillors in a steering group, but not one of them has qualifications in transport planning and engineering. And from my observations, the experience of council staff in this specialised area is also somewhat limited.
Caution you to be careful when the criticism of council staff. If you're going to speak to your motion, do so.
No. Look, nearly 300k would have been spent on the consultant by now, roughly. And in the stage 1 report was delivered end of May with, as I read it, a pretty firm assertion that a new bridge is necessary. Now, I've looked at this report and not at all convinced. And if I, as a practicing professional in this field, if I am a practicing professional in this field, I must ask, how can the rest of you be convinced? But this question was apparently workshopped by the steering group back in January, as far as I could tell. I mean, I believe that would have been a good time to report back to the rest of us before moving forward. Now the stage 2 report is in draft form. It's with staff now, I understand, and I believe goes into more, as far as I can make out, it goes into more detail about road connections and intersections. Now, I'm not convinced that the best decision will be made here either, but because for one thing, I see in some staff feedback to submissions and draft feedback to submissions, an inference that only traffic signals are appropriate for intersections with any number of cyclists and pedestrians. So anyone who lives in parts of Auckland like Royal Oak or Avondale will know it's not necessarily the case. But these sort of comments do suggest to me that some uninformed bias is going on. So that's all I have to say for that motion. How do you want to?
I'll put the notice motion on the screen. Quite happy for you to come back to your seat. Thank you. Thank you for presenting that.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, I'm going to get put on the screen.
Just in front of me. Just wonder if you could turn to your normal seat so we can see the notice motion, please. Expand it. Sorry, I'm expecting this.
Oh, just to add one last thing. What I mean, what I'm really asking for is a workshop opportunity for all elected members to partake. Well, firstly, I think before the draft 2 report is finalised, because I think it needs to happen before then, and just for us, all elected members, to get a better confirmation of the way forward. Because I mean, I know that the timing is somewhat inconvenient because we're expected to sign off on the DC contributions tomorrow for a. Yes, the timing is somewhat inconvenient. I agree, and I wish yeah, this might be able to do it earlier, but that's the way it is.
Thank you for your notice of motion. In terms of the process, prior to calling for a seconder, there's an opportunity to ask questions and clarification. I have one question from the chair. In relation to the date you've got there of the 27th of August 2024, you are of course conscious that we are in the middle of hearings and deliberations for the long-term plan, at the conclusion of which later this week, staff will then need to prepare a fairly robust document to go to audit before we adopt the long-term plan, and that staff are already using colloquial term up to their eyeballs and work.
But yeah, yes, that hence I put I added that all dates be agreed. That was the first date I saw for a council meeting. So yeah.
So you're the one who has moved this motion, so you're the only one that can amend it. My suggestion to you would be that we amend the date to after the long-term plan has been adopted at a date convenient to staff. Are you comfortable with that amendment?
I'm comfortable enough. I suppose my only question is, yeah, I recognise that date's a little bit of a hurry. I just, I'm only wondering. I mean, the point of it is to interrupt the process, if you like, before the draft 2 report is finalised. I mean, can we have assurances that
so your notice of motion is quite specific. I've asked you a question in relation to the date, and you've got the or date to be agreed. Are you comfortable with an amendment that would specify after the long-term plan has been adopted at a date which is suitable to staff and elected members?
Well, could we set a date, an actual date?
I'm not sure we're in a position to do that today. We also have, so we have steering group's role in this to consider as well. So I guess my question to you, are you comfortable with an amendment to that, or do you wish to present that as is? It's entirely up to you, it's your motion.
Well, if I present it as a motion and we can agree to discussion what the date would be. I'm just wary of having a fluffy date that never actually happens.
Well, that's what or date to be agreed indicates, which you've already got in there. My suggestion is that you take out no later than 27th of August and you replace that with at a date to be agreed.
Together to present to council for consideration at a date. Sorry, at a date to be agreed.
At a date to be agreed. Excuse me. And my suggestion to you would be post adoption of the long-term plan. But again, it's entirely your decision because this is your motion. So it's up to you.
No, I'm all right with that. I'm taking in good faith, but that's good. Yep.
We have the amendments up there. At a date to be agreed post adoption of the long-term plan.
So adoption of the long-term plan, is that 27th of August, is that the date we're actually adopting the long-term plan? Sorry.
No, that's
September sometime.
Oh,
It's the last.
well, I suppose if I can question you further on that, I mean, it would be better to do it earlier so that I don't need to elaborate on, so that we have assurance, because I mean, the stage 1 recommendation is in the long-term plan. So, would that not be better to do?
What I'm trying to assist you with is getting your motion across the line. If you insist on the 27th of August, that is smack in the middle of preparation of the long-term plan. My suggestion to you is that it's unlikely to get the support we're looking for around this table. So it's a risk you run. So I'm trying to get this across the line for you. If you wish for this to occur, I'm trying to help you with this.
No, can I just ask you? So you're quite confident as the leader, the head of the steering group that is
not the head of the steering group. I'm a member of
the member of the steering group. That would be because it would have to involve the consultant and stuff. So that's not doable for that.
Through that,
Yeah.
Chair, I mean, you can either do it as is or amend as proposed, Those.
No, I'd like to go.
We
No,
basically come to agree.
that's right, I'll go with that. Right up where, so you were at to be agreed, posted up, yeah, all right, let's go.
Okay, call for a second up. Councillor Shepherd. Right, thank you.
The amended motion.
The amended motion as it's written on the screen. Are there any discussion points from around the table in relation to this?
I have a question. Just with regard to the workshop, as stated in the motion, it's just to ask questions and to receive answers and to get a better understanding, not to make changes. Is that correct?
Well, that certainly is the point of the workshop, and it would have to involve the consultant who's part of that. I mean, make changes. Well, I suppose if from better understanding of elected members that we want to make changes, well, then we might make changes.
So my suggestion would be that it would be a workshop that would take the form of any other workshop that we conduct as part of council business.
I would have to elaborate that it should include input from the consultant to be able to, because it's not just for the steering members to explain.
So at this point, you're now straying into directing how a workshop may or may not occur and the procedures associated with that. We haven't even got this motion across the line yet. We've just got a second we need to vote on it. So your discussion on that might be a moot point if this gets voted down.
Well, that's the point of it. If we enable elected members to better understand some questions and receive answers, that summarises what.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So your motion is pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
You had a seconder. Is there any other discussion on this matter? We can put it to the vote.
Questions? I'm happy to take questions. Look.
Hang on a sec.
Oh.
We've had a chance for questions and any other discussion points. Maybe you put it to the vote. All those in favour? Aye.
Through the chair, can I just start and say closing point?
Quickly before we put it to the vote.
Yeah, just to reiterate, if you're 100% confident that the way forward is absolutely set and we need that new bridge and everything's going fine, then vote no. But if you have any doubts and think you could do it with a greater explanation and understanding, I certainly do.
I'm going to stop you there, Councillor. You're making a value judgment on what may or may not be our understanding, and that's not appropriate.
Can I just say as the seconder that I am seconding this motion, not the added extras? I'm happy to second the motion.
Yes.
To have a workshop.
Yes.
On the topic. That's all I am prepared to second.
Oh.
What's on?
So
Through the chair, I think Councillor Shepherd's explained the motion is quite clear. Anything you say is not necessarily relevant, it's not pertinent to the motion, just to present a workshop.
that's the point.
Yeah, through the chair, I just want to clarify that no matter which way I vote on this, it is not to predetermine my stance on this issue. I'm open-minded, as I am about every other piece of council business that comes before us as a workshop before decisions are made.
Absolutely. And so we're crystal clear on what we're voting on. The bridge, as presented in the discussion document on the long-term plan, was under the heading of other things we are thinking about. It is not even going to get close to being designed post the next long-term plan, which is in 3 years' time. So there is a lot of, sorry, air joke, water to go under the bridge before we get to that stage. We've got ahead of my tongue there. So this is about increasing understanding around this table about the process to date. Are we clear on that? So I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Aye. Aye. Show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 online. Christina's a yes. Kylie?
No.
Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 again. 167 is passed.
Against.
Against 934. So again, I want to be clear on this. Kristen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's passed. I'll record those against the motion. 1, 2, and Councillor Leonard and Councillor Fletcher. Thank you. Right, back to the main agenda for this afternoon. Okay, item 5.2. Right, Chris and Tim to address us on the East Urban Lands affordable housing eligibility criteria.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are we all?
Yeah, good.
Good. Hey, so this afternoon I'm here to talk about the approved proposed eligibility criteria and minimum hold period for stage 1 and 2 of the East Urban Lands affordable housing area, with stages 1B and 2 subject to the LTP. I take the paper as read and I open the floor for questions.
Any questions? Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you very much, Chris. We did have quite extensive workshops on this and a lot of discussion about it. And I realised that it's not an easy thing to please all people in all places at all times. However, I do not remember us talking about the fact that we talked about somebody having to be a Taupō resident, and we talked about first home buyers and how long they have to stay and all those other things that come into it. But I don't remember us talking about having to have an employment contract with the Taupō District-based business. I would like to make a comment that I see a lot of fish hooks and something like that. I think it would be very easy to perhaps secure it in favour of somebody who perhaps wasn't a Taupō resident and maybe never really intended to be one. I just think it's a little bit outside of what our original steps were. I wonder where it came from.
Sorry? Yeah, so that was added in just to ensure that we weren't limiting our people that can purchase the homes. However, we do have people that that will move to the district for work, as long as they are employed by a local Taupō business. There should be no reason why they were not eligible to purchase a home.
I suppose my argument for that would be that if a Taupō resident took up the offer of one of our homes, then they would free up a house for that person who's moving into the district.
Mm-hmm.
So I do struggle with this. I think that it's a little bit stretched too far. I've actually been talking to a lot of people, particularly in my area around here, and encouraging them and saying to them, this is coming up, keep an eye out for it. You are into the district, you are going to be eligible for these homes. And they look to be as if they could be within the reach of people in this area. So I do struggle with that particular clause.
Just for clarification from me, Sandra. So give me an example of where this wouldn't work. So I live in Taupo right now. I'm not working by a river, but they live in there. Or somebody that's working, they might live in a river now, but working to. What's the sort of person that you don't think? What's the sort of person that's going to miss out?
Someone who's not living is not a Taupō resident. You're not a Taupō resident. You're not contributing in the area. You're not paying rates as part of your rent or rates as part of your rent because they're not a homeowner. So I feel that they are not people that are currently contributing to the community and in the district.
To the audience, so let's say, for example, you had Esmond Heffield and the staff that lived downtown, the regular Taupō District Council, they want to move to Taupo, but can't afford it. they're the sort of ones we want to keep volunteer to attract to our town. Under your scenario, they would be staff.
They need to move the Taupō District now. They've got to rule them.
There's
I think we need to look after our own first. That's my view on it. We are the council and I'd like to think that we looked after our own first. And I know what you're saying. They're not in the room.
I guess if I could put this in a question back to you, councillor, how will you strengthen that clause to ensure we are looking after our own?
Take out the last part of it. Be a Taupō resident. And didn't we talk about it? I can remember us discussing about the fact that they needed to be a resident for a period of time as well too, prior to applying. Remember that being part of the we didn't talk about that. Okay, but we did talk about the fact that they needed to be a resident in the Taupō district.
Yeah, that was my point.
Yeah.
Say it'd be a Taupō district, isn't it?
Yeah.
You live in Mangakino too, don't you?
Yeah.
That's great.
You do the chair now. I do recall the last workshop, having the distinct suspicion that people from out of the area could, there's loopholes. I've got a job offer. See, I'm a resident. Well, I mean, you can wangle stuff, and I think it's not fair because I mean this land was bought by ratepayers here. It was a good deal, but to just let it open, let it to people coming from Auckland or something, just to shove down here with a cheap deal. I mean, I don't know how it is a cheap deal, but it is a good deal. So I can absolutely see opportunity for that happening, and setting a foolproof criteria could be challenging, but maybe, for example, they have to. Well, how do you prove residency for 7 years? Taupō District. How can you the zero way?
I guess to alleviate some of those concerns, the other reason we're looking at this is to help bring workers that are needed to the district as well. So if they're going to be living and working locally, then I think we need to be able to accommodate them as well, because our businesses are also struggling, and that's one of the other reasons why we're doing.
And that's why we've used the words, sorry, through the chair, Taupō-based business. Right, Taupō district-based business, yeah. And Danny took the words right out of my mouth. You could have returning residents coming back to the district.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, yes.
So I don't think we want to restrict ourselves too much there.
But through the chair, I mean, just to reiterate my point there, I mean, this land was bought by local players in the 90s. I mean, it's owned by, I mean, that's the other way. I mean, it's good to attract workers here, that is good, that's necessary, but I'm just not sure that's what it should be for.
So once down reading through the criteria, there is a requirement for owners to live in the premise. So that kind of nullifies that I've got a contract, I'm going to move here, I bought it, I've changed my mind. That can kind of rule them out. It's on the other criteria. So if you take that criteria and read it in light of the other matters that are in there, it balances out.
So, Chair, we need to put ourselves in a compliance situation, don't we? Compliance situation. If somebody does get a job elsewhere, after they bought one of our cheap houses, they can move out. What do we know?
No.
But what are we going to do? But what are we going to do?
What do you mean?
Well, what are we going to do? If the person moves out, what are we going to do?
Well, there's an easement on the title, which means that they can't sell that without our consent within 2 years.
Oh, but they can move out.
They can move out.
Yeah.
So Chris, you want to speak to that?
Well, I can say they can move out, but they'll still have to pay their rates on that property.
Well,
And part of the sale and purchase is also that they actually have to live in that home. So they're a breach of that sale and purchase contract. Yeah.
compliance issue, how we
manage that.
how we police that.
Sarah?
Sorry, it'll be very hard to manage and track every specific piece of that, those conditions, but you've got to remember these are people that have an income threshold. So it's very unlikely that they'll have the house and have it sitting there and then move away. And there's, I mean, it is hard. Again, it's not a blunt instrument, it's a blunt instrument. But I think there's just two things that I probably did want to mention. One was that we're selling these for market value. I just want to probably mention that because we're not discounting them, and it isn't kind of the same with what some of the other affordable developments have done. And then the second thing is we just have to be careful here because these have, again, we've workshopped this with the Harvey Group, we've taken our development partner on the journey, and the development agreement is obviously conditional on accepting these. As it says in Chris's paper, the penny homes, the original ones, didn't exceed, how many people could apply to get the houses. So there wasn't massive demand, and we've just got to watch out on cutting down that demand because we could potentially end up in a situation where we can't sell those properties. So just probably just that thing.
Through the chair, can I just point out that point 2, residency status. Okay, just being completely cynical about it, at the bottom criteria there, you need to be either a resident in the Taupō region or have received a permanent job offer in the Taupō region and intend to relocate to the Taupō region. Okay, what's stopping me being an online worker in Auckland, bringing my mates at Mitre 10 in Taupō and getting a paper permanent offer. And I have every intention. I have every intention of moving to Taupō if I win the thing. And after the deal is done, I've got the house and stuff. Well, lo and behold, the job offer. Sorry, it fell through. I intended to move. I'm just being completely cynical.
But you need to read all of it, to understand that there's not just one area of compliance. There's quite a bit to the criteria to be considered in its whole.
Well, I suppose it depends how desirable is it a lottery win? It's not quite a lottery win. Yeah, I mean, it's not quite a lottery win. I mean, it's affordable housing. It's we're not selling gold bars here.
So let's confine a conversation to the criteria that we've been asked to review.
So through the chair, and the whole point was we're using the criteria of Kiwi law, so we don't get into this thing where why did council cook up all of these weird rules? The closer we are to following the Kiwi law rules, we've got a nice, safe set of laws that in theory have been through all the expression tests and everything else. So my preference is, I'm going to say I want to move it, test the motion, unless there's any other questions in terms of the detail, and then just see.
I'll talk about it in a minute. There's one other comment I wish to just reinforce, and it's comment Sarah made a second ago. These are not being discounted. So there's not the opportunity for somebody to buy a house at X dollars and flip it 12 months later at X times 2. It's just not in the way this has been structured. They're smaller footprint houses, smaller footprint land at market rates. We have just set the market at a lower value. And to be clear, that was one of the critical things that we have been banging on about with the steering group, is around the ability of people to come in and make a quick profit off the back of ratepayers or council, and it's an absolute no-no. And I'm comfortable that these criteria, along with the fact that these are not being discounted at cost to ratepayers, that is simply not happening, irrespective of what some people may choose to say or believe. It's not the case.
Yeah, I just have a question, I guess, to better understand the differences between affordable housing and market value housing. Is affordable housing just market value housing, or Because I know I was under the proviso when we accepted this, that it would be based on affordable housing, which to me is the market value now. So to be fair, with the service suspension now was comes a little bit of a surprise for myself, but to be fair, I could have missed something along the way. So I just wanted to get a little bit of clarification on that. Awesome.
I'll ask Sarah to respond to that.
Yeah, okay, so the typology is how we've addressed affordability elements. So as the Deputy Mayor said, we've made the section sizes small, we've made the house sizes smaller and more affordable. So quality with houses, but that are smaller in size. So that's how we've addressed it. So it's just a little bit different than what the market development would do, because again, we can sell a 700, 600, 800 square metre section and quite a lot of them, but by us being able to control that section size and then obviously the typology, that's how we've achieved that affordability. So there's still a mixture though. So again, without going complete dense subdivision, we've got that mixture in there.
The people put it across. Yeah,
But,
thank you for the clarifications. Really appreciate it. The other question I had was just around the 2-year term. Is that sufficient or?
The 2-year minimum.
Yeah, 2-year minimum.
That we feel is in line with, so that's in line with the Brightline test. We didn't go away from that. The average home owner owns their home for 7 years. So yeah, we did feel that was a sufficient period of time, and that's in line with the Kiwi Builder as well. Again,
Yeah, that was exactly my question actually, because 2 years, I know, the older you get, 2 years is quick by. Okay, it might be the Kiwi Builder thing, but it sounds like a quick. It sounds pretty quick to me, yeah.
Through the chair, I guess that brings us back to the fact that it's being sold at market value.
Yeah.
They're not going to make a huge profit in that time because we're selling it at current market rates. It's been valued at that value.
Sorry.
So we're selling it at full market rate.
What the housing market's going to look.
That's right. It might change, but it's currently we've got it to market value.
Right, are there any other questions specific to the agenda item that we have in front of us? The Queensland.
On page 920, it actually is at the bottom. People's circumstances change. The homeowner must seek prior approval from council. What does that actually mean? Who at council? What's the process? Have we got a process in place? Have you thought about the process?
With the hardship criteria.
So the hardship criteria. Yeah, look, we're working through that now as part of the development agreement. We haven't finalised what that looks like, but we do know that they will have to come back through council to get that approval. Look, you have to remember that we are dealing with 38 homes on stage 1A. Of that 38, how many do we feel would actually go through that hardship criteria? Probably not a lot, so I don't think we would need to set up a CCO or anything to manage that. It would just be potentially through our property team.
Staff.
Property, through council officers.
Well, it's not necessarily hardship though, because in the first sentence you say where homeowners will need to sell before the end of the minimum ownership period. And you go on to talk about financial situation to that. So I'm specifically thinking of someone who gets a good job financially, which would be the most obvious one.
Can I just jump in here and suggest that we could find an almost endless list of exceptions to the rule, and it's, in my view, unwise to build a rule around exceptions. Let's look at what we've got here around what the proposed criteria is and deal with the exceptions based on good practice as and when, if they arise. At the moment, what we're doing is we're looking at all the possible scenarios and we're going to end up building criteria around what may or may not happen as opposed to what is broad spectrum in line with what is well-established criteria elsewhere in the country. It doesn't set us apart.
My question just was, who in council and have you thought about it? That was just the question.
Very much likely to be chief executive approval, given the limited numbers. So,
And through the chair, it will require the easement to be removed off the title, so there's no way of doing it without council consent.
That's part.
Yeah, thank you. Just through the chair, Chris, can you just confirm that Bell Gully, we've had legal review of this
Yes.
area as well, just to assure members that the process has been thorough?
So through the chair, key commercial terms were developed and agreed between TDC and Penny Homes Consortiums. What we've done is Bell Gully have now developed a draft development agreement based on those key commercial terms. And yeah, essentially what happens is you have the key commercial terms, and then within those key commercial terms, we have clauses for each one of those key items. And we are about 90% there with that now. So yes, Bell Gully, and Andrew Peterson at Bell Gully actually wrote some of the Kiwi Build agreements. So he's a very experienced.
So that's fairly exhaustive.
Just one.
Councillor, that's really the chair. Yeah, this is not commentary, but I think in support giving his commentary about we use the word trust conservatively, but I mean obviously looking at acceptance, there's a new type of arrangement. Just give it a chance. Obviously, there's no situation will be perfect. But I think criteria here, probably has been well done by the health inspection. It's very good. I think I'm pretty supportive.
That's Campbell, that's fine, right?
Should this be agreed, when would the members of Parliament have the opportunity to put their names down or express interest, get their name on the list?
So for stage 1A, once we've agreed terms of that development agreement, right? So we're hoping we're about 4 weeks off that, and stage 1B and 2 is obviously subject to LTP consultation and approval. So as soon as we sign that agreement, so 4 to 6 weeks time.
Oh.
That's where we think we're at the moment. Look, development agreements is a lot to work through. I think we're in the nitty gritty sort of rats and mice stuff now, and we shouldn't be too far away.
And then, okay, so you get, well, hopefully you get more applicants than others.
So we're straying into an area of business well beyond the scope of the tender item. So I guess that having engaged, that's an offline conversation we can have. Let's stick with the eligibility criteria, which is what's before us now. Moved by Councillor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Shepherd. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tender item. Taupō District Licensing Committee. Kani, I think you can say who you are and address the table. Thank you.
So under the standards Colgate, all councillors must have a district licensing committee in place at all times. Since the last time you reappointed your external members, 3 have resigned. So we currently have 4 independent external people and 2 councillors appointed to this committee, and the remaining members have been appointed until late next year. We've prepared a new recruitment process for this committee, and we can either run this year or next year. We need to recommend them to proceed this year as we've got a few to go, and that will be leadership for the committee in place of year. And in addition to this, we're proposing to put a recruitment panel in place to do some for you, consisting of the general managers to the environment, Indian co-governance manager, and the environmental youth services.
Any questions? Councillor Park.
I'm just considering timing of audit and long-term plan and everything else. Is the CE comfortable with the timing that is suggested?
Yeah, I recall after the last elections, that's something we do. So in my mind, it is something we need to do now. To variously pitch up this.
Okay.
So seconder.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry.
And the seconder, Mr. Lachlan. Any discussion?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I thought we were in the middle of discussion. I had 2 questions, that's all. I suppose I mean, maybe you don't know the answer to it, but why did they resign and what's to stop this all happening as again? And, because usually when people sign up to these committees,
You're right. How do you not know?
I know, I've never done anything.
I have cross conversation. Look, people resign for a number of different reasons. I don't believe that's appropriate for us to delve into the personal reasons people choose to relinquish their responsibilities on a council committee.
No, I'm just wondering.
I wonder lots of things, but it's not appropriate.
Is there something a more robust way of recruiting that? It's not just one; it's three. Is there a more robust way of not going through this again in the future?
So I'm assuming you will have read the attachment, selecting and appointing district licensing committees and guide from council. That's a fairly robust process, which is what has been recommended that is adopted by this council. But there's no guarantees with people who get their hands up and then subsequently find circumstances change. Councillor Williamson.
It's really obviously got to be the work, so we're doing this has to get this process aligned, including to Anna's point about workloads. So obviously, I've been in the last two hearings, so one or two of those find me on the roads, so it's quite important to get more on it, because everyone else is busy as well, so whatever reason, so.
I mean, in terms of numbers, maybe we need to bump up the numbers even more to cover possible. I mean,
What to do now?
Thanks, thank you for your chair. The proposal is to appoint, depending on the candidates, two commission chairs, and would also be part of the panel and 6 additional panel members. But that could be a decision for you in November, depending on the applicants you get and the skill sets they bring.
Councillor Leonard, I see you have your hand up.
Sorry, got some feedback coming through in the sounds. Are we still looking at the licensing committee?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
You've still got your hand up. And John, thank you. Any other discussion? I'll put the motion. Been moved and seconded. All in favour?
Aye.
Passed. Next is agenda item 5.4. Receiving the final statements of intent for our CCOs. Libby, is that you or is it Hedley?
That's me. So mechanical paper for you is usually passed. It's just really to adopt the set from text. Happy to take them. Ready to go.
Are there any questions in relation to the statements of intent that we've got? All of them. The technical detailed documents, yes.
There's no material changes to this one.
No, there's not through the chair. There's not. The only thing that is worth noting is the changes because of LTP direction. Yes, and the LTP has been worked through, so it's a little bit different because of changes in proposed budgets.
Yeah, I mean, just comment, I suppose. I brought this up, one of the submissions actually, that the opt-in quoted $1, $800 return for every dollar we put into it. Yeah, I mean, I made a note to comment on this. Yeah, the implication being that if we put another million in it, we could pump 800 million into the local economy. I wish they could word it something different.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, I'm a mover. Mr. Williamson, seconder. Mr. Loughlin, all in favour? Aye. Motion's passed. Thank you.
Sorry, Kevin. I'd just like to make a point on that one, and apologies, my device went flat, so I've just been desperately trying to get back in. I would just like it noted in regards to that item around the statement of intent that the correct process is to have a letter of expectations that we set as a council to those organisations. I have brought this up before and I would just like that formally recorded.
Thank you. Noted and recorded.
Thank you.
So are you voting in favour of adoption or against?
Against, thank you, for that
Yes,
reason.
thank you. Moving to agenda item 5.5, performance report.
Good afternoon, Deputy Councillors. This is reporting back on June, so we typically do not include financials in the June performance report. This is why this one's a little bit different this month. I would just like to take some time to say congratulations to Taupō as our infrastructure and services, so Turangi each month, and there is a very strong theme this month across LTP, across the entire updates from the exec team. So I'm not going to talk about that. It's a very busy week with LTP, but what I do often take is the opportunity to highlight some awards recognition across the organisation and benefit, and of course just recognising how the house the swans got. So we just get some great news this week from the LTZ. So there's a prize and then for the LTZ. Any questions on the front section from the exec team and
Any questions from Tony?
No question.
The question from now, very shortly.
Is any of these keeping you up?
So we'll move on for now. Throw it over to you, and then Dan's got a question.
Kia ora. I'm very aware of the fact that you've had a very long day in the middle of quite a long week. So I will take the report as read, but I did want to provide a bit of an update because I'm so aware of the fact that this information is dated, and when you're driving down the road and you see Southern Trunk Main right in front of you and your neighbour might be asking about it, I can give you some updates there so that next time you're out having that wonderful barbecue in the barbecue weather, you've got a good response. So I'm happy to go through that first if you're comfortable without going into too much detail, and then take questions. Cool.
Yeah.
Comfortable with that approach?
That's fine. It's going.
Okay. So obviously there's 5 key changes across the project: View Road, Bonsall Park erosion control, Crown Road, Free Waters reform. Nothing's alarming in my mind. These are all things that you generally should be aware of in terms of Free Waters reform. There's an early warning that we don't have a pile of cash waiting around to prepare for local waters done well by the time frames, but that is placed in the LTP. There's some lower level, but still really good news in regards to Crown Road. Time is now green. Pick that work off. View Road project's going to be delivered under budget. Bonsall Park scheduled a little bit slower, slightly higher risk. Found a little bit more, some more challenges regarding hot ground in that location. And erosion control just flagging it's taking a little bit more time to arrange meetings with key stakeholders. So that's the overview there. I did want to pre-address any questions that we might have regarding Turangi Cuban Channel, because I know we've been talking about that council. So, and I know that Peter Van Eek has been working with the transport team, as I mentioned last month, to try and work through how we can cover off some of the remaining streets and items under the transport maintenance contract. So there's some good news there in terms of itemising, but I did want to let you know that the 3 car parks, I believe, next to the playground, that work's underway. It's obviously a busy road, so we're making sure we're taking the correct precautions in terms of the traffic condition.
I noticed when I came down today, they're doing this stop driving in TNA, so that's good. Yeah, that's doing that.
In Southern Trunk, for anyone driving through Wellwards anywhere, to get anywhere in Taupō at the moment, that's going along really well. You know, the key part that's underway at the moment is around Whakaweka Reserve. And for any of you running the 10K half marathon or marathon, don't be concerned that will hold you up in any way. They've been working very closely with the event management team. But it hasn't delayed any of the kind of overall timelines. We are aware we're starting to head into event season, which seems surprising considering the weather, but we need to keep track of that. And I just wanted to provide an update. The lower fields lights are installed at Obi Park, stadium field poles going up in the next 2 weeks. And Unison is in the process of looking to complete their transformer upgrade, and that's exciting news.
Through the chair, first that's good. Tauranga Park, all that pipe. Right, is that going to be excavated and put in there, or is it going to get pushed through a trench? It's a long one.
Yeah, I'll have to come back to you in terms of the exact methodology. I think it's very similar to what we've seen on other parts of the installation today, down Parker Road, etc.
What do they do?
It's essentially, it's the path of least resistance is through the road. So it's a combination of the excavation where possible. I think we've seen a lot of hydrovac trucks, which has mean we've found much more exciting things under the ground than what we probably planned.
Not a python.
No, not a large, like 500 to 100 refers. Any other questions? Anything else you wish to highlight?
Did Councillor Lachlan have a question for me?
Is there anything keeping you awake at night?
On that list, you know.
Thank you for the clarification.
Point of clarification.
Sport, but no.
I don't think yes.
No, but I would add, and it's not keeping you awake, but we're doing a lot of good work around planning the priority of our carry forward projects and which ones we can throw resources onto. I've had the exciting new starter join us yesterday or on Friday in my team, so that's great. We've got someone else with a construction project management background. We're up to market for another project manager, and you know, Joe and I are working really hard to prioritise the Bellway, the carry forward projects, and then also work out which of the LTP projects we're kicking off. A number of them are already underway in terms of that feasibility component and the pre-planning and design work. So that's what we're really looking at.
I'll just share. Right. You finished or? Where you going on with it? But no, I'll just highlight Whangamata road improvements. I just noting, I have requested to see the, and it's not unpacked, I don't know if it's complete yet. I have requested to see the road safety order. One particular location I just wanted greater assurance that it was worthwhile. That's all. But the safety order can always pick up that. But failing that, some sort of statement from the designer as to why we're doing it. That's Whangamata Kinloch. Yeah.
Through the chair, I'm aware of the project. It's out to tender at the moment. Sign's being done and it's informed by the safety audit.
Oh, I did request to do that. I haven't seen it.
So my suggestion to the councillor is that we review the current procurement policy and ask your question in light of that. Correct.
Yeah, really. To do that.
Well, if you don't want to do that, then your question becomes null and void.
Well, I
need to ask your question in light of the procurement policy, and then you'll see what is appropriate to ask and what is not. And it's spelled out in black and white in that policy. So I invite you to do that and then come back with your question.
No, so through the chair, I have submitted this question some time ago, actually, requesting information of this nature.
Again, I'm going to repeat what I've just said. Need to review policy in relation to procurement that the council operates under, and then come back, having reviewed that, and check the appropriateness of your question.
So, if you don't want to do that, it's fine. I mean, I'm just
stop.
So we made a decision to do it. No point for having a review statement with going to tender. The decision, once a decision is made, it's.
Well, to the chair, I mean, I requested some information of this nature months ago about this, well before it went to tender, and exactly specified. So I was after some reassurance that it was worthwhile.
Can I suggest respectfully to you
what you're asking for, the information you're asking for is completely in breach of our procurement policy. You need to read policy. I can't put it any clearer than that.
Well,
I'm happy to have a conversation with you offline. Well, explain if
I'll
you're
have a
willing to
look.
listen.
I'll have a look at the procurement
Thank you.
policy, but
So
I
let's,
think
let's move on. Is there any other questions in relation to the agenda item here? Councillor Greenslade.
Daniel, can you tell me how we're going with Kenlock because it affects the Motuoka and Omori jobs? Where are we up to and what's the sort of time frame? What's happening there?
Drinking water standards upgrade. Through the chair, I guess the news in regards to piling is good news. It's all gone through. And as far as I understand from my updates through the project manager with Elijah May, is that that's being rebaselined and that's looking for that target. So rebaselined in terms of we are aware that there has been some resource and crunches and some difficulties regarding the grant quality. But I think it was the last meeting, all of those 4 projects, because they're interrelated, were rebaselined in terms of their timing. So we're now looking forward to, the delivery of the next 12 to 18 months for.
Because a lot of especially at more they keep asking because so many clearly and they want to know when it's going to get.
And it is one after the other to some degree. Yeah.
Oh, thanks very much.
Any other discussion? We have the council notes the information contained in the performance report for the month of June 2024. Mover, Councillor Park, second, Councillor Shepherd, all in favour? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you for your ongoing support of our important capital program.
Thank you.
Next item is 5.6, council engagements for August 2024. Shani, any updates?
Chair, only one update, which is the emergency management committee meeting, which was to take place on Monday next week, has now been cancelled. Everything else is as on the list.
Councillor Park?
Yes, just through the chair, just to explain further to members, if they are interested, it was at my request that the Emergency Management Committee agenda items be waived or passed over to the next meeting in light of the long-term plan work program at the moment, and just to give staff a little bit more breathing room. However, the update which would have been provided in the Emergency Management Committee with staff will be distributed to the committee members so that they're kept in the loop about what is happening at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or clarification? I'd like to move that we just Councillor Greenslade before we do.
Somewhere representing growth. It's moved, hasn't it's been moved, yes. It was supposed to be in August and I'm in the local government conference in Wellington and
It's not this year.
it's been moved to September. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
I'm happy to move that we accept the engagement for August, seconder. Yep. Councillor Fletcher, all in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now, we have confidential item. I have a move, we move into apostles. Councillor Williamson, seconder. Councillor Park, all in favour? Aye. So, Christine, kindly stay on the line. We will stop.